Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mrs. Houston?
Here.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here. City Manager.
Yes, Commission, we have one work session item tonight, and that is a public safety facility needs overview and about the new county jail. And with us tonight is Jenny Hutchinson, the county administrator, to talk about the project.
This yes, it does automatically. I apologize. I am not Sheriff Clark. He was supposed to be here, but he had another engagement. So last minute, I am filling in. And this presentation will not be nearly as good as if he was here, but I will try to go through this and answer any questions that you have as much as I can. If not, I will get back to you. But the public safety building and that we currently know is downtown here, and it was built in the late 70s, early 80s. And when it was built, it was like one of the kind. It was the type of facility that was prevalent in that time. Multi-levels, we have 3 floors where we house the inmates. It houses about 160 inmates. Currently, we are always averaging over 200, so it's definitely over what it is meant to be, which is why we are in the process of researching newer facilities and what the county needs to do in order to make sure that we are able to house inmates that are needed to be housed. Not wanting. All right, so when we were looking at a public safety facility, we wanted to make sure that it was safe, secure, and sustainable. These are some of the current conditions of our jail. The way it is structured is that the admin offices are on like the 1st and 2nd floor, with the cells being on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And the inmates have quickly determined that if you clog the toilets, it will flood the offices underneath. And as you can see here, this is a common occurrence. We just recently had one in the beginning of the year that moved our sheriff's office out of there for about 3 months, as we had to completely gut the entire office space and redevelop it. This shows water just streaming down. So not only is that a common occurrence, but we have over $3 to $5 million worth of improvements that need to be made immediately. If we are not going to proceed moving forward, we are going to need to invest in that. And that includes a new roof, includes new locks for the jails, the plaza, as many as you have know, if you've ever been up on heading into either the jail or the city police, the plaza is definitely in need of repair, and some other just upkeep items. And that does nothing to address the overcrowding. We would not be able to remodel the current jail and gain space. So no matter what we did to that building, we would not be able to house any more inmates. So this is kind of our current situations. When we talk about the overcapacity, the jail is now kind of being more used as a mental health facility and dealing with people who are overdosing or on opioids, rather than housing those that have broke the law. Of course, some of those would fall into that category, but it's really become a space where we need to try to have some programming to address these mental health and drug addictions. And also, we're not as equipped to handle the amount of female population that we have that are now entering the jail. So we had a feasibility study that was performed by DLZ. The first study occurred in 2017, 18, around that period. And then we faced COVID. And then since then, we've had updates to the study twice. And it has identified that we have a need for a facility that can house up to 450 inmates, and that will get us through the next 30 years. Also included in the study was other options as well. Can we renovate the current facility, and just some other options. So throughout that study, we determined that the most feasible solution would be to build a new facility rather than try to invest in the current building that we have. And then this kind of shows when they did the study, they looked at our average length of stay, looked at the types of inmates that are coming into our facility and the cost per inmate. And another concern that we have is that it is safe for our officers, our citizens, and the inmates as well. Officer safety is a huge concern. The way the current jail was designed, it's multi-level, and there's not a clear line of sight for the corrections officers that are in there to look and see every inmate. The newer facilities are built kind of as a pod where there's a central desk that can see everybody that's in that pod. That is not our current facility. There's a lot of dead spaces that we have to be aware of. And because of that, we have to have more corrections officers per inmate, just to make sure that we have that safety for those corrections officers. Public safety is a huge issue. As I mentioned, there's over 200 inmates that are currently in the facility. It's housed for 160. So what that means is if we bring somebody in who really should be in the facility, who committed a more aggressive crime, we might have to let somebody out that is more of a misdemeanor, and that creates the public safety issue that we're facing. We could easily put in 20 or so more inmates in there right now, but just due to trying to correct that officer safety and the inmate safety, we have to make those decisions, and it's constantly a discussion between the sheriff and the judges on how we are going to determine who gets released and who needs to make sure that they are in there. We will say that those that need to be in there are in there. And then we also have the issue of those being transferred to prison. They're really on the will of the state as to when they call them up. We can call them and say, hey, we have 5 inmates that need to be transferred to prison, and they'll say, well, we can take 1 right now. And we're forced to house those other 4 until they call us and tell us that they can take more. Inmate safety isn't an issue. You're putting 200 people in a facility that is regulated for 160. So there's going to be constant fights. You're not able to separate the different types of crimes, the felonies from the misdemeanors, and that creates an inmate safety issue. We also are having to, because of that, a lot of trips to the hospital, which is the county's responsibility to pay for those trips to the hospital if there are involved in a fight or anything like that. This kind of talks about the different types of inmates today. It's kind of separated into the 3, the bad, the fewest number, and these are what the current jail is designed for. Those are like your felonies. And then you have the addicted, who are likely less harmful, and we're not designed for that. We have no programming space to try to address those. And they might just need 2-3 weeks to get started in a program before they move out, but we're not able to get that initial first 2 weeks started for them. And then you have the mental health. And like I said before, we're not designed for that as well. We have no programming. We try to do the best we can with the partners in the community, but that is a lacking issue that we have right now. And all 3 of these inmates are in the same pods. So you've got, maybe a murderer or somebody housed with somebody who has a mental health issue and got off their meds. And that's not how, they should be housed. They should be able to separate those. And secure. So the facility I mentioned is actually, 432 is the 80% rule. That's part of the study, but the facility will be designed for 450 beds. It's the square footage is about 130 to 40,000 square feet, and that will include all of the sheriff's offices. So it'll include the detective, road patrol, and of course the corrections office admin. The facility, the study recommended at least 10 acres and be in the city center because the sheriff's office is required to sit in the city limits. And based on our 2026 bid, that is if we went out next year, it's about 85 to $100 million to construct. We have been doing some tours of similar facilities. We have gone to Warren County, we've gone to Greene County, and Coshocton County. Those are all facilities that have just recently been built, and they're using the new model, which is the single story with the pod type environment. So those are kind of what we have been looking at and kind of trying to model the new facility. And these are some of the pictures that we, of the newer facilities. So those are the basics that we have. I went over that already. The desired location. So here we have, time this presentation was done, we did not have an actual contract on it, but this is we do have a contract now on this property. It's south of 70 on 72. It has easy access to 70. It's centrally located. An important part for the sheriff's office is they do the entire county, not just, the north, south, or the central. They need to be able to quickly hit New Carlisle or over on, South Vienna. So this, based upon the average time, this is central location for them. And it's approximately 30 acres, which would give us the ability to expand if needed in 20, 30 years. And this has been annexed into the city already. And we want to make sure it's sustainable. So the model that we are looking for is it's about $100 million. The county does have some reserves and some funds that we can use from One Ohio, which was about 15 million, or I'm sorry, 2 million. The 15 million is what we would hope to get from the state capital fund. So that leaves us about $83 million that we are looking for a sales tax levy, which is 0.5% that is on the ballot in November. And that will be a 20-year period. If we are able to generate enough funds to pay off the remainder of the bonds, the commissioners can cancel the tax early. And that's kind of what it says here. So the funds collected, which would be about $10 million, will be used to pay the annual principal and interest payment for the bond. And just kind of give an idea, we've been using the $100, the 0.5% increase will be 50 cents. And that was very brief, and it's not as detailed as what sheriff would have done, but.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So back to the corrections officers, do you think in this facility, it'll require less correction officers than the one you operate now?
What if we are looking at the same amount? If we bring 200 in, we would need less corrections officer, but because the facility will house up to 450, which, we do not expect day one to be 450. We could build that up as well.
And then I think the one thing that I've heard in some of the other presentations is the offering for rehabilitation services to the inmates that they're really only recourse for the ones that need to be have further assistance and rehabilitation. Our facility does not have that. Therefore, it's basically they're caught, they're processed, and released back into the same environment in which they came out, and that causes more hardship. Am I right? So this is one of the advantages of having a larger facility is for services that we cannot offer right now. Is that right?
That is correct.
I think you said something like that, but I wanted to highlight that again.
Yes.
And then you said an interesting fact that I think needs to be, it's state legislature, it's state law that says that the jail needs to be in our city.
The sheriff's office.
The sheriff's office. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's, the transfer to prison, have we had a situation where there was, we could not transfer individuals in a timely way and it caused real problems downtown?
No.
Okay.
No, the issue we have is that we have 4 or 5 prisoners that need to be transferred to state prison, but they do not have any openings. So they're still in our facility, which then not enables us to, arrest anybody and keep them and process them.
Okay, well, thank you. I know other commissioners have comments or questions. Commissioner Tack?
Thank you for being here.
Mhm.
I'd like to share this story. When I talked to the citizens of Springfield, an experience I had doing ride-alongs. So I've done 2 ride-alongs with the Sheriff's Department and 2 with Springfield Police Department. There was this incident last year with the Springfield Police Department where they were called on the West End for a trespass. We get there, they arrest him, we bring him to the jail, and it was very eye-opening to me when the Springfield Police Department had to let him go because there was no room in the jail. And he went and he offended that night and then the following week. And I thought, from even just thinking about to the other previous ride-alongs about call times, about how they have to prioritize the calls. And if we have these repeat calls all the time as we're over capacity in this jail and letting people out, or we're paying other counties to take our inmates for $90 a day, it was kind of putting that into perspective for me on the importance of doing something with the jail here. So thanks for talking about it.
I think an important point that Sheriff Clark has been making is that our weakest link right now in our fight against crime is our jail. So like you said, we can arrest them, and it might be something where it was a domestic and they just kind of need time apart. And then we bring them down into the jail and we have to let them go because there's no room, and that doesn't give those parties a time to kind of decompress.
And I thought when we had the presentation, which thank you to the county for inviting us out there at the fairgrounds, and the guy presented his findings and how he described it as that 3-door system. I don't know if you can speak to that, but I
That's
think
kind
that
of
was
what the-
important as well.
yeah.
If you could go into a little more detail about that.
Those are the 3 types of doors that, there are the 3 types of criminals that we have. It's like
Yes.
the bad, the fewest number. These are your worst. Those are your, your murderers, and which is what our jail was designed for. And then you have the addicted and the behavioral ones. So those are the 3 doors that he was referring to. And we're
this-
we are not designed for these 2 other.
Right. And the more complex a jail needs to be these days compared to what it was built for. And we see that in downtown Springfield and in Springfield as we deal with a homeless crisis and what that looks like, the increased need for mental health. So that is another plus on redesigning our jail. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I had the opportunity a month or so ago to actually walk through the jail with Sheriff Clark because I wanted to understand the current condition. I wanted to understand why you're putting this on the levy. And I was floored at the current condition of the jail. Not only the parts where they house inmates, but the offices, the plaza when you go up there, and just the magnitude of the repairs that are needed just to get back to almost normal. And that doesn't even get into addressing the capacity. I remember, for example, some of the parts that you would have needed, that you need to order for doors, are made by companies that aren't even in business anymore, right?
That's correct. Our buildings and grounds department have become experts at trying to fix those blocks because
Right,
there aren't.
which has to be exponentially more expensive.
There he
Um,
is.
oh,
You saved
there we go.
me.
I'll
I didn't get as much detail.
Sheriff Clark, welcome.
No, I was just saying, I had the opportunity to walk through the current facility with you, and I was floored at the condition. Some of the parts that you need to order are made by companies not even in business anymore, making it exponentially more expensive, and that is not going to stop anytime soon.
Sheriff Clark, thank you. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm sorry. I just have one more
Yep,
thing.
Go ahead.
The last thing, no one wants to pay more taxes. Like, we all just got our property tax bills that have probably gone up due to houses being sold, and other issues. There are a lot of levies on the ballot this year, but the way that this is presented through a sales tax makes it very fair for everyone in the county. Anyone that passes through Clark County and buys something, it will go towards this facility. So I just want everyone to take a minute to consider that.
Sheriff Clark, she went through the whole presentation, but I'm sure there's about 3 points you'd like to emphasize from your voice. Does that be accurate?
Yes,
Okay,
and
go right ahead.
again, just let me apologize for my tardiness. You know, I had some things going on today, and I'm running a little bit behind today. But I do just want to kind of point out a few things. The Clark County Jail was built in 1997 at a cost of $8.3 million, and that was due to a federal directive towards the commission and the county
87.
administrator.
87.
Oh,
87.
77.
77.
77.
We all were wrong.
See, it's been a long day.
That's right,
It's been a long day. It was started in 77 and opened in 1980. So, according to the state of Ohio, our housing capacity is 167. Today, our capacity was 204. Obviously, that raises a lot of problems with when you're putting 204 individuals inside a facility that's designed to hold a maximum of 167. I've been here 28 years, and I can tell you in the 20 years I've been here, the Clark County Jail has never passed a minimum jail standard that I'm aware of. We're governed by 51-point Ohio Administrative Code, and there are 172 points that we have to comply with annually, and we're inspected every year by Ohio Department of Corrections. Last year, we were compliant with everything except 14. 4 of those had to do with maintenance, some maintenance issues and some policy and procedure things that have been corrected, but 10 of them had to do with the physical structure of the building itself. And a lot of it has to do with the space that is required. We house, our pods house 12, are designed to house 12 inmates. For every 12 inmates, I'm supposed to have 1 toilet, 1 sink, 1 wash basin, 1 shower. We are putting upwards of 18 to 20 people inside this pod. So, in a facility that is designed to accommodate 12 people, we're trying to almost double that. And of course, it creates tension problems. It creates, it's small spaces, so they don't have any place to go to cool off or to separate themselves. Creates health issues because, when you try to get, that many people inside of a room, we have sanitary problems. And we've had bug issues at the jail because of the overcrowded problem. And that's the biggest thing. Is the health and the maintenance of the facility. My corrections officers don't want to go to work every day and fight, and that's what they're having to do. They're having to fight their way because these inmates don't want to be there. I mean, they're in jail. They don't want to be there. They really don't want to be there when we're having them sleep on the floor, and they're in there with people that they don't get along with. So it's constant fight every day, and they're fighting for food, and they're fighting for TV time, and they're fighting for whatever they it's always a fight. So we need to get some sort of space where we can classify people. Outside of that, 167 beds, 204 inmates today, or 206 inmates. I can't remember what it was when I left, but we're just over 200 inmates, and we're housing the worst of the worst. So when we look at people who are committing lower end misdemeanors, nonviolent felonies, there's a really good chance that they may never see the inside of a jail cell. And that's not because law enforcement in the county doesn't want to do their job. It's not because prosecutors aren't trying to prosecute and judges aren't wanting to prosecute. We just don't have any place to put them. So we have reserved the space in the Clark County Jail for the people who are shooting each other, stabbing each other, or committing the home invasions and the robberies and the burglaries and the worst crimes that we see. So the problem with that is when we don't address the lower end stuff, we as a society approve it. We literally say as a society that we are okay with what's going on when we have theft problem up on Bechtel Avenue. And I can tell you that the majority of the theft on Bechtel Avenue is not reported to law enforcement because they know, the business owners know that we can't do anything about it. Someone gets arrested today, they may or may not see the inside of a jail cell, depends what the population is, but more than likely they're going to go through the process. They're going to get ordered into court. They're going to be arraigned, and then they're going to go to trial in 6 to 8 months. And all the while, they're still stealing, and they're still out, doing bad things, and and there's really at that point not much we can do about it. We just don't have the space. But when we take these people and we don't hold them accountable for the lower end stuff, we are inoculating them to a criminal justice system. So we can't be surprised when the misdemeanor theft turns into car theft, and car theft turns into a burglary, and the burglary turns into an armed confrontation with the homeowner. And that's what's happening here. We have problems with the juvenile population in Springfield that are stealing cars and shooting each other. And a lot of it has to do with because we have to hold them accountable when they do wrong. A lot of people have kids, and anybody who has kids knows that if you let your kids get away with something, they're going to try it again, and they're going to push your limits, and they're going to push until they find out where the limit is. Well, criminal justice is no different. When you have somebody that you arrest and you don't put in jail, and they're not held accountable to the standard that they need to be held accountable, they're going to continue to commit crimes until they find out where that limit is. So where do we draw the line? And at some point, we as a society have to say that we've had enough, and that we want to take criminal justice seriously, and we want to start locking people up and holding criminals accountable in Clark County. And right now, the Clark County Jail is the weakest link in the criminal justice system. We need a new facility. We need to be able to have the capacity and the ability to hold criminals accountable for the deeds that they do. But we need the public's help to accomplish that. We need some financial help to accomplish that. And like Commissioner Houston said, nobody likes to be taxed anymore. I don't want to be taxed anymore. We're all taxed to death, but a 0.5% to me is well worth the security of knowing I can send my wife, my daughter to Walmart to do shopping without me having to go as an armed escort. Thank you for your time.
Dr. Esther?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate your comments. I sit on behalf of the Commission on the Criminal Justice Council. And what I have heard repeatedly is what you've just talked about, Sheriff. The frustration of the police and the sheriff's office, the prosecutors, the judges, with their inability to engage in appropriate application of the criminal justice system because the jail doesn't have capacity. And you're right, we see it, unfortunately, throughout all of Clark County, this escalation of criminal behavior because there are no consequences for the misdemeanor offenses. So I wish you the very best of luck in your campaign. And
Thank you, sir.
I understand the problem, and I hope the people of Clark County will understand and support a solution to the problem. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Esther.
I do have a comment. I just wanted to say a few years ago, I had gone down to the county to do QPR training, which is the suicide prevention. And while I was there, we were providing that to your staff as well as to the inmates. And while I was there, just seeing those, I get it, right? You commit a crime, you go to jail. Everybody gets that, right? But we often have to forget what happened to that person that got them to that point of committing these crimes, right? And so while doing that training, the looks of desperation in people's eyes, but talking about such a sensitive subject and bringing up the mental health issues, they were just started to talk like, well, I actually have meds, but I can't get my meds because there's nobody here to pass my meds. That to me was just crazy to me because what are we doing? We're just, again, we're going to keep ourselves in that cycle of that recidivism and all of those things, because if this man is in jail and before he's on meds, now he's completely off of them. He hasn't had a doctor's visit, can't get refills, and now I'm sure he'll be right back in a few more days. And so I just really wanted to encourage, I hear everybody with the taxes, right? But if you actually go into that jail, if you know anybody that's been in jail, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I've never been inside the county until I did that QPR training. I've gone to the jail to visit many a people, right? It's crazy in there. Like, I don't even have words for it. So I just encourage everybody to research this, look into that tax so that you have a full understanding when you're going in to vote for this levy, and not just saying, oh, I'm not voting for it because I don't want a new tax. Really do some research before you make your decision, please.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just real brief.
Please, thank you.
So to your point, you are 100% correct. And rehabilitation correction, correction is the easy part. Rehabilitation is the difficult part. And that's another thing that we are focused on with a new facility is the rehabilitation. Right now, there are 2 classrooms and 1 office that we use for rehabilitation inside the Clark County Jail. And that's not enough for 167 inmates, let alone 204. So a new facility will be based on a lot of rehabilitation to try to get our recidivism rate of 32.5% down to where it should be, and hopefully in the teens. But it takes the rehabilitation side of rehabilitation and correction in order to be a successful corrections facility. Thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners? Thank you for getting here. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you,
And
Commissioner.
we wish you well, for sure.
Thank
you. Is there a motion to adjourn this informal meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown,
Here.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mrs. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes, I think Commissioner Tackett asked, and this is a good question, is there a place people can go online to find more information about?
If you go to our website, there's a tab you can
To the
hit
Clark
select.
County-
Yes, Clark County, Ohio website. It's called Hot Topics. You click on there, there's several different one of them being the public safety complex.
Are you speaking anywhere else publicly?
There are a few coming up. Where they are off the top of my head, I'm not sure. It's
Okay.
just smaller groups.
Okay.
But
Carlisle.
New Carlisle, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the formal meeting for city commissions called to order. Clerk, call the roll.